Hi guys, my name is Shimalori and welcome to my channel, The Musical Medley. As you know, this channel is all about encouraging you guys to get into medicine, show you what it's like to be a medical student, and today we're doing a very special video with a very special guest of mine, my sister. So basically today we're going to talk about the difference between UCAT or UCAT now and BMAT universities. So I go to a UCAT university or UCAT now because it's updated. We're going to talk a bit more about that in a different video and the difference between UCAT and BMAT. But here we're going to talk about the difference between UCAT and BMAT university in terms of you actually going to the university, seeing what the university is like. So as you guys know, I go to the University of Birmingham, which is a UCAT university, and that means, for those of you who are unaware, UCAT and BMAT, they're two different entrance exams in order to get into medicine. So some universities do BMAT. Universities that do BMAT are Cambridge, Oxford, so the two Oxbridge unis, UCL, a few of the London universities, actually Imperial also do it as well. I think, I'm not sure about St George's. I don't think St George's do. I think they do UCAT. Essentially, and all other medical schools do UCAT UCAT test, and they're two different tests to get into medicine, and it just depends which medical school you want to go to. So like I mentioned before, I go to University of Birmingham, which is UCAT university. I'm going to let my sister introduce herself and tell you what university she goes to.
Hi guys, I'm Ayanfe. I go to University of Cambridge, and that's a BMAT university, and I'm in second year.
That's great. So now we're going to go to different questions about why we chose to go to the different universities, because when I chose my university, there were specific things that applied to me and stood out to me that made me want to go. And when she chose her university, there's specific things that stood out that made her want to go. And by the way, we both do medicine, so for any new viewers out there. And she also has another channel which I'll plug at the end as well. Hers is quite good, to be honest. So we're going to ask a couple of questions. I'm going to ask her a couple of questions. So we're going to go delve into why we chose our two different unis, what stood out to us, what made us want to go there, and what actually encouraged us to go to the different cities, because different cities have different vibes and, you know, different experiences, which she will actually talk about as well.
Okay. So I chose to go to Cambridge, firstly because it's Cambridge and it's prestigious and everything, but I especially like the course. So the course is split into two. It has like the more science heavy first 3 years, and then clinical school, which is the last 3 years, which is just seeing patients and then like just going over the first 3 years of content. And I also liked how in third year we can do like a completely different subject. So you can do psychology, business, management, and you can go deeper into one of the science subjects like pathology or pharmacology. So that's very interesting to me as well, and that's why I chose it. But I also was looking for a uni that had mainly science focus in the first few years and then build on that foundation in the clinical years later on.
Personally, God told me what uni I was going to go to. So I knew what uni I was going to go to from year 10. Even in year 10, I didn't know what course I wanted to do, but I knew that I would be going to University of Birmingham. And usually when I know what I'm going to do, there's usually a reason. Even though I don't know what the reason is, there's always a reason. And yeah, so I went through the whole process, did GCSEs, got good grades, did A-levels, got the grades to get into medicine, thank God. And yeah, I knew Birmingham was the city for me. I literally only went to 2 open days. I only went to the open day for Birmingham and the one for Leicester. And like the one for Leicester was because it wasn't Leicester, because I knew I was going to Birmingham anyway, so I knew that Birmingham was the only one that was actually important for me to go. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend that for everyone, by the way, because yeah, like it won't work. I love the uni, I love the city of Birmingham, I love the place where it's actually localized in as well. It's very, very interesting. I learned a lot, and the diversity of the people as well. And from the first year of placement, which like from the first year you had clinical contact at GP, third year you have clinical contact and you see a diverse range of people which you might not get anywhere else.
Yeah, so I chose to do medicine because, as cheesy as it sounds, I've wanted to be a doctor from quite a young age, so I always knew that like medicine is the one for me. And then yeah, just the good grades and everything was kind of leading up to medicine. So yeah, quite generic, quite basic. But yeah, that's my answer.
Very generic, but it's good though. Very good. But mine's quite different to her. She knew that she wanted to do medicine for me at a young age. I didn't. I wasn't thrust into it at all. I chose the path I wanted to go, but it was more because as I grew older, I realized that the skills and gifts which I'd been given from God were sort of tending towards that line. I wanted to help people, I wanted to care for people, and I have dreams which require me to gain skills and talents which can only be gained by doing a medical degree. So me personally, I know I'll definitely be working in the medical field, but I want to do other things beyond medicine. And the things I need to do those things, I can only gain them from actually doing a medical degree, if you get what I'm trying to say. So that's why personally I chose the course. And similar to hers, it might sound a bit cheesy, but I just want to help people. I want to help people develop. I want to help people grow. I want to help people improve themselves and be the best version of themselves. And yeah, I just want to help people prolong their life. So me personally, I chose between a UCAT and a BMAT uni. It wasn't really chose, I just didn't do the BMAT. But that was on my own actually. I never really thought about it or gave it much thought, because when I did the UCAT, it was different. They had sittings from like July till September, I think, late September, and that was it. Whereas in the BMAT was in October, and it was just in October. So personally, I thought that I'm not going to do the BMAT because I want to focus more on A levels. Looking back at it, I didn't think it would have made a difference, because I think I'd have been fine either way. But I don't regret not doing the BMAT, because like I said, I knew where my goal was, which was University of Birmingham, and I knew that for me that was the place to be in terms of like what was laid on my heart at the time. So I wasn't really too fussed about BMAT or UCAT, because I just knew everything would work out, and yeah, thankful to God that it did. So that was like, it was quite simple really.
So initially I only wanted to do the UCAT because my initial universities that I had put down at the end of year 12 were only UCAT universities, and like when I came to do the assessment, I got quite a good grade, like quite above average. So then I thought I didn't really want to stress myself with another exam, especially because our school didn't really have many BMAT applicants in the past. So like I would get no help from school, and most of the information or like resources I'll get were from online, and you can't really trust that. So yeah, so then after I got my UCAT and I started year 13, I thought, I was really looking for like a last university, and then I chose Cambridge. So for Cambridge you have to do a BMAT, so that's why I chose to do a BMAT. And yeah, we'll go into like tips to help, because I basically did it myself. I didn't get online tutoring or any type of tutoring. Most of the resources I used were online, and yeah.
And that's just a testament, guys, that like anyone can do it. Because like I always mention, we didn't go to private school or anything, you know, we didn't go grammar school. It was literally hard work, and she's an example of that. You know, it's literally just hard work, perseverance, and anyone can do it. Everyone can get into medicine. Doesn't matter about your background, doesn't matter about anything. All you need is just hard work and a bit of favor as well, and everything's just sorted. And that's a bit of encouragement for you guys. For people who may not know what the UCAT is, essentially is a type of medical school admissions test you have to do in order to get into medical school in the UK. So it has 5 different sections now. I believe they added a new one when I started. So they have abstract reasoning, they have situational judgment, verbal reasoning, qualitative reasoning as well, and they also have decision making. So you have 5 different sections, and they test you on different things. One of them tests you on maths, one of them tests you on how quickly you can read and decipher large amount of text, and then another one's like to do with shapes and stuff. It's not your typical kind of test, but it's more to test your IQ per se. Like I mentioned before, it's quite hard to revise for, because you can't revise for it, but it's all about practice. So doing practice questions, practice papers, all the practice you can really, and that's the best way I can offer. That's the way that helped me, that's the way that helped her, and that's the way that's going to help you as well.
BMAT split into 3 categories. So you have the first section, which is kind of like the UCAT, and then the second section, which is science questions, and then the third question, which is an essay. So the second question, you have a syllabus, and it's because it's both is all the sciences, so chemistry, chemistry, physics, and biology. So then the website, you can find a syllabus that has everything that could possibly come up, and then you just have to go through that basically. Essays, you get a choice of essay questions, so, and some of them are quite ethical, some of them are quite sciencey. So I think just like getting into good conversations with doctors, like maybe when you're doing your work placements, like speak to doctors about pressing issues in the NHS. That's what I did when, like, one of the question that I actually ended up answering, I had a conversation with doctors that I had done work experience with, and the people at the care home that I was working with as well. So I had lots of points to add into the essay. So yeah, it's type of ethical questions that that are relevant to medicine, and you can have with like people in the field anyway. Okay, so for BMAT, I mainly used 2 resources, or 3 technically, but I used a BMAT book which had like a question bank, and I went through the whole of that book. And then I also used a website called BMAT Ninja. So I just every morning for like 3 weeks before school started, I just went through the questions on that. And it's a type of thing where the more you practice, the better you get, or the faster you get. And then I finally did as many mocks as I could on the Medic Portal website and the official BMAT website as well. So yeah, that's why. Also, YouTube videos are very helpful as well.
So for me, in terms of UCAT, I mainly had a big book. I mainly used that big book. I also watched a bit of YouTube videos as well to help me though, but it was mainly the big book. It had loads of questions. It was like 150 to 200 questions of UCAT, and it went through all the different sections. So UCAT has different sections: abstract reasoning, verbal reasoning, and things like that. So I went through all of them. Now, a lot of the times they say their test you can't really revise for, and people say like the interview you can't really revise for, but it's not true. Like, you can't necessarily revise for it in terms of like learning off a syllabus or learning a curriculum, but practice is the most important thing. The more you practice, they won't repeat the questions, but it's like practicing builds your mind to start thinking in that way. So the more you practice, and the easier it gets, essentially. That's what I would recommend for anyone, and I would say start early as well. Personally, I didn't start as early as I would have liked, but I was still good. Like, by God's grace, it still went fine, and I still did quite well. But yeah, I would say start very, very early so that you can even do better than quite well. Yeah, that's basically it.
But it's also important to know how you work. If you're not the type of person that likes a slow burn, then don't start too early, or you just burn yourself out. And also, in addition to that, doing lots of mock papers for UCAT is important as well. So Medic Portal, which will be in the description box down below as well. But for BMAT, isn't like UCAT. You can revise for it, and the more you revise for it, the better you get. So yeah. So
in terms of the interview process, I only have knowledge of UCAT interview process, but most of like all of mine, they're all MMIs. So MMI basically means multiple mini interviews. So you have different stations. So I had 12 stations in Birmingham, I believe, and they test you on different things. So in Birmingham, they had a math station. I know they change it every year, but they had a numeracy station, which was like doing some drug calculations in a short space of time. So you had like 2 minutes to do 50 drug calculations or something like that. They test you in your ethics, so they give you an ethical dilemma, and they want to see how you like deal with it or what you say. They also test you in your communication skills, so how you communicate with a patient who would be an actor, and stuff like that. Or they just test you on loads of different stuff, but they have different stations. Some people prefer this one because if you mess up on one station, you shouldn't let it get you down, because then you can just work better on the other station and keep going. Whereas you have other interview methods which don't offer that. Personally, they usually last for like an hour to an hour 30 minutes, I believe. But time goes by very quickly while you're doing it as well. So that's the key thing. For any of you who may have multiple mini interviews coming up soon, I'll just say, don't be too stressed or nervous. If you mess up one station, don't get worried about it, because what you think you messed up on might not be a mess up at all. And messing up on one station doesn't mean you failed the whole interview, which is why I like multiple mini interviews as well, because then as you go around other stations, you can just bring your score up, because they collate all your scores at the end of it, and it's just how well you do all together, really. And that's basically it for multiple mini interviews.
So I did both multiple mini interviews and traditional interviews. So, and I only did Cambridge was my only BMAT university only traditional interview, and that is, for me, it was 3 interviews with 1 to 2 interviewers, and then they just asked you questions for about 25 minutes. So yeah, with Cambridge, as it's a collegiate university, the interviews questions really differ between colleges. A collegiate means that the university is split up into colleges, so you apply to a college, not to the university or the subject. So I applied to Robinson College, which is where I go now, and I had 3 interviews. I know people from other colleges had 2 interviews, and my first interview was more of like a getting to know me as a person. So we talk about my personal statement, my work experience, why I chose the university, and all that stuff. I know some people, like, they didn't ask them anything about themselves. And my other 2 interviews were very sciencey, so it was basically based off A-level science and what we've learned before. So just like kept going like higher and higher level until I couldn't think anymore. But yeah, so it's just, they will just keep asking you questions based on a level of science that you already know. So for that one, it's quite difficult to revise interview unless there's something like very interesting, or something like very interested in, like you want to, that you know you definitely want to mention in the interview. Other than that, it's based off your A-level knowledge anyway. So as long as you're on it with your A-level stuff, then you should be fine.
In terms of Birmingham and the way they do their medical degree, it's quite different from the way Cambridge does it. So Birmingham, they do integrated teaching, so they mix the traditional style. So I still have, first and second year I had quite a lot of lectures. Even third year I still had a few hospital lectures as well, and a few in the lecture room, but it's done differently. But yeah, in terms of Birmingham, it's a 5-year course if you just want to do your 5 years and get out, or it can be 6 years if you choose to intercalate. Intercalation is when you take 1 year out to do a subject you're quite interested in, so the course ends up being 6 years. And every other uni also offers this as well, and you can choose to do it in wherever you want. You can even choose to go to other unis to intercalate as well. Same with Cambridge, but theirs is a bit different, which she'll talk about in a bit more detail. But yeah, that's the big difference. In mine, you can actually go out of universities to intercalate. In Cambridge, you have to intercalate in Cambridge, and yeah, she'll talk about it a bit more. And also in terms of mine, first and second year, they're the preclinical years, so they're very, very like lecture heavy. You don't really get that much patient contact, but you still get quite a few compared to like other universities. So in Birmingham, every 2 weeks we got to go to a GP surgery, talk to patients, shadow doctors as well, and get what it's like to be a doctor. Well, or just in one specialty, which was general practice. But it was nice at that stage because they just warming you up to clinical years. Whereas in third year, you'll just be on the wards all the time. So on third year, typical day, you'll just be on the wards, and then you have some teaching. You had some simulations as well, when you have like plastic not doors, but plastic like reenactions of humans, which are like you can control them and stuff. It's quite helpful. And then you could go through different case scenarios, how to treat them, management plans and things like that, coming up with a diagnosis, which is all third year is all about. And third, fourth and fifth year, they're known as the clinical years, which is where you start building up your acumen in order to be a good doctor and actually be a good medical professional in the future. So just to recap, year 1 and 2 is building up your good foundation of medicine. So essentially in year 1 and 2 you'd have seen everything at least once to do with medicine. Year 3, 4 and 5, you're just going over everything again, but in a more clinical setting. So you're getting more clinical knowledge and knowing how to apply it to patients and knowing how to actually do it in the real life setting.
So the Cambridge course, like I said before, is split into two. So it's a preclinical and the clinical years. So the first 3 years are the preclinical years. First year and second year we just have lectures and practicals, and the practicals are physiology practicals, histology, pharmacology practicals, and those are assessed as well. So we have to do practical papers, and then we have loads of lectures. This year I think we had like 160 lectures. Last year we probably had the same. So we have lots of lectures and supervisions as well, which are within colleges. And yeah, and then the last 3 years is our clinical, when we actually get to be in the hospital. And the first 2 years we have like 2 times of patient contact. So we went to a GP practice twice in first year, and then this year we went to hospital twice as well, and that was our patient contact for the whole year. But we were meant to do one during the summer, but corona. And then a third year you either follow someone who's on dialysis for the whole year or a pregnant lady for the whole year, which is really interesting as well. Yeah, but it's very, very like science heavy. Like I thought I was done with physics and GCSE. I was not. I thought I was done with maths and data and all of that. I was not. So if you're very like interested in like science and very, very deep science, sometimes it's like not very clinical, especially with things like biochemistry. Like we don't really do as much clinical stuff. So yeah, that's something to bear in mind as well. So my favorite part of my course is, I think, because we have so many lectures and so many practicals, you get to mix with lots of people from different colleges. So like we have practicals with different people from different colleges, and we're all like split up, so you really get to work with a lot of different people and then therefore know a lot of people in your course. So I think I know, or like spoken to at least 85% of my course. And so not everyone goes to lectures and stuff anyway, but they're quite a lot, and we all kind of know each other. So that's like one of my favorite parts. In terms of the work, it's amazing being taught by the people who find out like important stuff and like leading researchers. So one of our lecturers was a man who came up or like discovered the sodium potassium pump. And then he basically lectured us on how he discovered it and all of that. So that was really cool. And one of our lecturers is like helps research for astronauts and NASA and all of them. So that's very interesting. Just like the level of expertise is unmatchable. Yeah.
Best parts of my university, so University of Birmingham, I'll probably say is the people in terms of the course as well. You have a diverse range of people, so I'm sure at Cambridge they have a diverse range as well, but at the University of Birmingham is a different variety of people. So everyone there is intelligent, of course, but people have had different passions to get in medicine. So, and because it's a big cohort as well, so her year is a bit smaller at Cambridge. So
how many is your year?
Like 350.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ours is just 300.
Yeah, hers is actually it's not that bad. Hers is still quite big. Yeah. So my year was 400 at the beginning, but obviously people left for different reasons. But yeah, so you have quite a diverse range of people, and there's no like stereotypical type of medicine or medic, which is the most important thing, and I'm sure it's with hers as well. There's no stereotypical medic. Everyone is different. Like, I'm different, she's different, but we're both going to be doctors at the end of the day, by God's grace. So there's no, this is what a doctor looks like, or that is what a doctor looks like. And you get to see different people and see them grow as well. I'm third/4th year now, and I got to see some of my friends from first year, and got to see the development, the big change, even in just like increasing medical knowledge and medical acumen. And like sometimes my group of friends, when they start making medical jokes, like it's a bit awkward, isn't it? But we all start laughing, because I find it funny anyway. But yeah, and just like the whole improvement in just knowledge. Another thing I like about the course itself is just the way it's taught. So similar to hers, first and second year, you're taught by people who are very intelligent, who really know this stuff, who've written books about or what they're talking about, who've like led really big research about it. In Birmingham is quite, same with Cambridge, Birmingham is very research heavy in terms of what they do. I'm getting involved with researchers, or they actively encourage it. So if you really wanted to get involved in research, it's very easy to do. Well, not easy, but if you're eager, then they give you the provision in order to be able to do that. So yeah, that's something that I really like about the course. The quality of teaching you get is very high standard, and it just makes it a lot better as well. So in terms of worst parts of the course, or actually I wouldn't say worst, but parts about the course that I don't really like enjoy too much, or didn't really like, because this is about getting you guys to know what it's actually like to really be a medical student. For me, I'll probably say in terms of Birmingham, like anatomy could have been a lot better. So I'm clinical years now, so the anatomy you get is from actually practical work, and when you see it, and then you go home in your own time and read about what you've seen. But first and second year we had certified anatomy teaching, but me personally didn't like the style in which it was taught too much, because we were taught through, like, we had anatomy sheets, and then they just had loads of questions, and then you have to fill out the anatomy sheets and stuff like that. But for me, I didn't really like it. It was a bit too vague in terms of what you would learn and what would come up, because anatomy is already such a big topic anyway. So you could learn everything and look at everything, but like a lot of the time only a tiny proportion of it would come up. And for me personally, when I'd learned everything, and by next week I'd have forgotten most of what I'd learned, even if I kept going over it. And it's not even, you didn't even have the chance to go over it, which I'm sure is for any medical course, but there was so much content that you can't even go over it. And yeah, so personally I didn't really enjoy that style of teaching too much, but like it was still fine. Like, and I still personally enjoy anatomy. I want to go into the surgery in the future as well. But yeah, that's it for me. Other aspects, I don't know, I liked everything else, to be honest. I love clinical teaching in Birmingham. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so my worst parts, or like least favorite parts, would be we don't really have much patient contact or just clinical practice in general. Like we've had like one first aid course type thing where we did one afternoon, and that was because one of our supervisors in the college wanted us to do it, because he works in the air ambulance, so he's really interested in that, and he does courses like that. So other than that, and that the patient contact that I mentioned before, we haven't had any other. So, and it's not as clinical, but I know that we have 3 whole years of clinical, so it will be fine in the end. It's just that you have to keep reminding yourself why you signed up for it in the first place. Another part I don't like is like it's a lot of learning. Like we have ridiculous amounts of information to know. Like I think is more than any other medical school, and like there's loads of like tiny little informations that we have to know, or like you just need to know for some reason. And yeah, it's just a lot of like rote learning, which can kind of suck away the joy of like learning and just learning to like help people in the end, like you have to keep reminding yourself why you're doing it?
So in my spare time, personally, it differed from first, second, and third year. So first and second year, first year I took part in Medstock football, as I mentioned before. I also joined the gospel choir as well. Played quite a key role in church as well. I'm an instrumentalist for my church, so I play instruments. Yeah, that was basically it. And gym as well. So just 4 things. You might say 4 things, not really a lot, but I'm gonna be like quite honest. You have time to do other things, but you don't have time to do everything you want to do. Like, you literally need to prioritize your time. So for me, before I started university, I knew I had key, like, top things I wanted to improve at and I wanted to be better at, and all the things I'm doing now, I did fit the box during first year. So I made sure that, like, literally I prioritized my time and only picked those things because those are the most important things to me, as well as my studies as well. Second year, I carried on doing the same thing. So gym, gospel choir, studies, church as well. And then even third year, still the same thing.
First year I did, so I'm part of ACS. So I joined ACS, went to the events and stuff, and the Cambridge ACS is quite a good community, it's like a family friendly. Okay, so my spare time I was part of ACS and I went to events and all of the stuff that they put on, and I also was part of gospel choir, so we did quite a few concerts during first year. And what else did I do? I also did college netball, and yeah, that was it. I think I was part of like church and like Christian Union, both in the university and in college as well. Our second year was quite, we had lots of contact hours, so I had to drop gospel choir because I couldn't make rehearsals because of clashes in my timetable, and I was secretary for the ACS, so I was actually on the committee. So just I mainly focused on ACS, and I was also a college rep for Christian Union. So we did like Bible studies, organized taxitoses for like evangelism and stuff. And that was really fun. So that's the only main 2 things I did in second year. So just like church stuff and what's it called? And ACS. But the thing is, it's not that was the most I could really, and gym. I went to the gym second year as well. Those 2 are the most I could really fit in my schedule. If I had more time, I would have loved to do a lot more, but yeah, I just couldn't because we had long practicals, lectures, plus supervisions that were more, you had to be quite flexible because you had, like, I had to base off my availability from the supervisors. So if they pick a date, unless I had like, you have like a really important reason why you can't make it, then you have to kind of make it because most of them are working anyways, so they're even like giving up their spare time to teach you and to help you understand the work better. So yeah,
so like I mentioned, guys, it's very important to prioritize, especially when you're doing a medical course, because time is very tight. It's so important to pick what you actually want to do, because if not, something will get neglected, and God forbid it'll be your studies, because all the hard work you put to get into medical school just to not make it to the end, But yeah, that's basically it. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video today, and thanks to my sister for coming along as well. I'm gonna put her channel in the description box below as well. We've got all the links from all the different resources we mentioned in the links as well. Yeah, that's it, guys. Like I always say, good job, keep going, keep pushing, keep working hard, and hopefully we'll have more doctors coming up in the future. And I hope everyone's staying safe as well, listening to government guidelines about this COVID-19 stuff. and we'll make it out of it. We'll make it out strong, and yeah, it will be a good or not a good experience, but it'll be an experience to talk about and hopefully to learn from as well. See you guys. God bless.